Hey, welcome to the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute with your host, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest, Alan Bishop. Hey, this channel is all about home distilling and legal distilling. If you've got questions, reach out to us in the comments below, social media, or via bishopshomegrown@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out thealchemistcabinet.com. Hey, what's up, guys? Just got home from Old Homestead not too awful long ago and got my my farm work and housework and all that stuff done, and it's just as easy to record videos out here in the greenhouse as it was anywhere else, and you know, it still feels pretty good outside right now here in southern Indiana, so I might as well enjoy it. So here shortly we'll be firing up the wood stove out here. This is what we heat our house with, and I'll get some lettuce and stuff like that growing out here for the winter time as well, and just have to ignore the moths and all that stuff flying around. Today might have been like Mondayest of all Mondays that ever fucking Mondayed when it comes to work. Equipment issues, and yeah, just one of those days. You guys know how it goes. But as always, I'm here to answer your questions. I'm glad to answer them. I just recently finished up another podcast with Jesse from Still It about absinthe. This would be the Swiss Blanche style, the post-ban absinthe of the Swiss Alps. You'll notice when we get to the ingredient portion, or recipe portion, I didn't give like a straight up recipe like I've done on the other two podcasts I've done with Jesse. I gave you a number of botanicals and ranges for those botanicals, because once you get to that post-ban period, I mean, absinthe was never, one thing across the board ever, anywhere that was made. But once you get to post-ban, it definitely starts to differentiate itself a little bit. And so I just gave a basic idea of what the style of that sort of absinthe was, as well as some ranges for those different botanicals. So I hope you guys enjoy that when it comes out. But let's get into your questions. As always, send your questions to me, bishopshomegrown@gmail.com. The Almanac is done, short of editing and formatting. I have all the articles in, all that stuff's ready to go. Kim is working on the editing and formatting now. I know some of you guys are waiting on the old books. Amazon has gotten to be an absolute pain when it comes to printing books. Those should be in any time now. As soon as they get here, I'll get them signed. We'll get them out to you. When it comes to the 2025 Almanac, what we're going to do, because we are running behind compared to where I wanted to be, we will do the physical copies. You guys will be able to pre-order those and order those, etc. here very shortly. What will happen is once everything is formatted and edited the way that it needs to be, there will be digital copies of it. So you guys will, when you order, you'll get a digital copy, so you have it immediately. It's there for you to read, there for you to use, there for you to plan with. And then when the physical copies roll in, those will hit the mail and make it out to you as well. So, from Nige. Hi, Alan. I've just been running some vodka from a wash based on the fruity vodka brandy recipe you gave Jesse. I made 2 versions now, and it makes a great neutral. So again, I thank you for sharing your knowledge. It has seriously stepped up my old sugar wash game. Now here's a scenario I want to run by you. I make 2 washes of this mash. Separately, I strip and then run each mash on a spirit run at 94% ABV offtake. Now I have 2 sets of cuts. I test them and decide my hearts with a very tight cut. Now I have heads and tails from 2 runs plus a small amount of hearts mixed in. As for heads, I already discarded a large early portion of them to the fire drum. Tails are stopped when the ABV falls. Would there be any benefit in now running these feints again slowly at 94% ABV with tight cuts? Will carbon filtering feints before running again make a difference? Will just keeping all the decent hearts from both runs instead of being super fussy and just ditching all the original feints be the most sensible idea? If this makes sense, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Some people do rerun those feints. If you're running up to high proof, you're compressing them down pretty tight. At some point, you're putting more energy into the situation than what the alcohol output is probably going to warrant, is what I would say. That's not to say that you can't use those tails. Those feints, you certainly could. But that's something that you're going to have to decide for yourself whether it's worth the time and effort to put those back in and extract a little bit of hearts that are still there. Me, I would be much more about just collecting the hearts that I'm going to get off of it and letting the rest of the stuff go. Or if I'm going to run that stuff off, maybe I would set it aside, because it's going to be full of all kinds of stuff that you don't want really anyways still yet, even at that higher proof. If I were going to rerun it, I'd probably rerun it into something like Lantern Fuel or Fire Starter or something like that you can use around the homestead. Now, that, again, is not to say that it can't be done, because it certainly can be, and people do that as well. For example, so with the sunshine-based absinthe, the world's first absinthe made of pure sunshine, by the way. I've been wanting to say that for years. We are taking our base sunflower shine, which goes through the 250-gallon still and the double thumper system. So it's 3 times distilled to start with. I distilled a 4th time to 170. I don't really bother to collect the tails off of that 170 run. Once it starts to drop to about 165 or so, I shut her off and I'm done because I'm expending so much energy. But that 170 that goes into the absinthe, or that becomes absinthe, when it gets run, I do collect the high tails off of the absinthe to go back into another run to make more high proof for absinthe, and I collect the low tails of the Blanquette to go back into the next run of absinthe. So it's sort of 6 of one, half dozen of the other, and it really depends on what you're trying to do more than anything. Great question. Let's see what else we got here. We got some time. We'll get through a few of these here. Let's see. That's not really a question. Yeah, give me just a second. I do apologize. Okay. Serious question. Does the smoke affect the fermentation / yeast? This is in response to my Old Homestead Distillery smoking oats and a Queen's Cut of peach brandy video. So, does smoke affect the fermentation / yeast? Does it matter which grain is smoked? How do the results vary as compared to just smoking the product after distillation? It's from Dan the Man. So, the smoke has never affected our yeast whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. In fact, yeah, I mean, that yeast doesn't run any faster or any slower just because of the smoke components. I do think that the grain that you're smoking does certainly matter. You got to bear in mind that you're also exposing that grain to heat. So, for example, if you're smoking oats and they're wet, like we were doing in the video, you're getting some conversion, right? Because they sacrify at the very least at a lower temperature. So you're going to get some flavor components there. You're also going to get that toasting and roasting sort of thing. So depending on how soft or how starchy or how wet that particular grain is, you're going to get different flavor profiles. For me, the oats are the primary component that I want smoked in there because there's a very particular flavor that comes over with smoked oats, just like there would be if you were smoking the rye instead or wheat instead or whatever you were doing. So yes, certainly the grain does matter when it comes to what you're going to smoke. How do the results vary compared to just smoking the product after distillation? So, well, again, we're only smoking 2 components in that particular product with smoke. So we're doing the apples and we're also doing the oats. You know, whereas if we were going to post distill, smoke everything for a cocktail or something of that nature, or even smoke a barrel, typically you don't get nearly as phenolic if you smoke a barrel or something like that. Buzzard's Roost is a good example of that. They make really great smoked stuff, but it's all smoked barrel and it's much lighter than what I'm going for. I'm going for a much heavier style of smoke, even though it's Irish peat. It's a little fruitier, a little rounder, etc. You know, nothing wrong with smoking a cocktail or spirits for a cocktail or anything like that, but I'm specifically trying to cater to a very particular audience of people who understand what poachine is and appreciate poachine and appreciate that smoked poachine in particular. So, you know, you can smoke any whiskey you want to, but not every whiskey is made with smoke in mind. So not every whiskey balances with smoke, for example, post-distillation. I want it built into this particular product because I have worked out the proportions of the various different things and the smoke that comes across and the particular flavor profile I'm going after, the balance I want. Also, it's much more inconsistent when you're smoking post-distillation, presuming that you're doing this, say for example, in a restaurant or a tasting room, excuse me, versus in the distillery, where we can blend our different batches together and have a consistent level of smoke in the product. So, I hope that answered your question, Dan. Let's see. Still got a little bit of that stuff going on. Getting better, but we need rain here in Indiana bad. Give me just a second, guys. All right, sorry about that. But, you know, shit happens from time to time. So, Jeff Bruns, in your opinion, what is the best / optimal amount of time for air seasoning wood for aging / putting wood on spirits? 36 months, 48 months, or something more or less? Thanks, Jeff. So another great question here. I've said it many times that Bad Motivator can currently get better wood than what I can get as a legal distiller. and that is typically air season 48, at least 36 to 48 month wood. If you can get 48 month, that's premium in my opinion overall, right? That's right about the level where with air seasoning, you go much more than that, you're going to start to get some microbes and some fungus, etc. going on, which can be a positive, but certainly affect the flavor. Barring that, 24-month air season is great. I hate air kilned, hot kilned wood. It doesn't work the right way. It doesn't taste the right way. It's a giant waste of money and time and effort as far as I'm concerned. I know there are guys out there at big companies that buy barrels that are kilned like that. That is not my sort of thing. That's not the flavor profile I'm after. And if I'm going to take the time to make double pot distilled or even pot double thumper distilled spirits, I want something really, really nice. I want that air-dried, air-seasoned wood is what I want. I want it exposed to the elements. That's part of the terroir of what we make, of the whiskey that we make, right? Whether those barrels are made here in Indiana or they're made down in Kentucky, it's close enough to be part of who and what we are as spirits makers to be important, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'd say between 24 and 48 months is where you want to be at if you can get it. It's gotten very hard to get that. It's still a little hard to get a hold of it, but because this bourbon bubble has come along, barrels are becoming a little more common, and we might be able to get some aged wood again finally. I sincerely and truly do hope as such anyway. So let's see, that's a long one. I'll come back to that. So okay, so from David: hey, Alan, first, congratulations on stepping out and doing your own thing. Much appreciated. I can see a sparkle in your eyes that wasn't there previously. I appreciate that as well. Sparkle's probably not as vibrant tonight because, again, long Monday. My question is about adding extracts. I have a 10-gallon alembic still with a significant cold finger and double distill everything. My recipe is an adaptation from one of your book recipes. 73% corn, 15% quick oats, 12% raisins, appropriate enzymes. It's awesome. The raisins transform it beautifully. I want to add more complexity to it and thought about adding lemon extract or vanilla. I haven't seen anyone do this in a mash or a low wine, only to distilled products. Since all these extracts are a high percentage of alcohol, my bottle of vanilla extract is 45% alcohol. Would adding extract to my low wines come through in the spirit run? Do you have any experience with this? Would it be one-dimensional? How much should I add? Should I consider adding fresh lemon zest as well? Thanks for sharing your experience and knowledge with us. It's helped me personally very much. Oh, fantastic question. So I have done many things where I actually add things directly to the mash itself. Both extracts and hard candies. In the case of Stone Beer, we actually added a bunch of Whorehound candy directly into the mash itself. I did a wedding whiskey for a very good family, or a very good friend of mine whose son was getting married last year, and that was a rye whiskey, a malted rye whiskey, wherein we added lemon zest, and there's all kinds of stuff in there. Whorehound, I can't even remember what all was in it, but all of it went into the mash, and then I actually added more into the still. When I do my stone beers, all the botanicals go directly into the mash, and then this past weekend out at Beck's Mill, Indiana, doing the demonstration for their Oktoberfest, as we do every year, I did a poor man's gin, and what that was essentially 10 gallons of water, 1.5 pounds of sugar per gallon, had about, I don't know, let's just call it 15 cans of expired sweet corn, 2 pounds of rice, and directly into that mash, I ended up adding cedar branches like I would if I was making a stone beer. That's going to give that juniper flavor to it. And then when I got it back home, I added a little Whorehound candy to it, and I'm now adding some trifoliate orange peel to it. This is going directly into the mash, not into the still itself, right? Pretty common thing back in the day. In fact, Aqua Vitae probably started off originally as an ale that was made with various different botanicals, and those botanicals certainly would have distilled over. You can do it with extracts with alcohol in it. It's definitely going to come across, if you add it to the low wines, it's definitely going to come across heavier in the spirit run than it would if you did it into the mash itself. I've not, that I can recall. No, I take that back. In fact, the Shriner Gin, a little bit that I can talk about that. So the botanicals for that Shriner Gin, and also we did this at Copper and Kings. I don't know what I'm thinking. There was a damn mouse. It scared the hell out of me. I didn't know what the hell it was. Anyways, about ran over my foot. Anyways, at Copper and Kings with the absinthe, that was all made from low wines and Muscat grape that we actually macerated the botanicals into and then redistilled. And then the Shriner Gin was actually rye whiskey low wines that we macerated into and then redistilled, as opposed to, doing a double and run. But those weren't extracts. But yes, same sort of idea. Now I'm all jumpy thinking this fucking mouse going to run up my fucking leg. I don't know what, again, Mondayest of all Mondays that ever Mondayed, I'm pretty sure. So let's see if we got another one here or not. I'm sure you guys get a kick out of these videos because there's always something crazy going on. The other questions I have are pretty long ones, so I think I'm going to save them for a separate video, and that'll give you a couple videos this week for you guys to digest. And I do apologize for a little bit of the coughing fit there, the mouse scare, the shitty lighting, the accidental advertising for Pepsi in the background, all that good stuff. But you know how it is, man. Long days and long evenings, and we do the best we can. But I love y'all. Later.